This is how I learned Japanese in 1 year. I'm sure if you're learning the language, you've seen those videos like I learned Japanese in a week. But here is the truth. I will show you all of the advice and things I would have done differently for my learning Japanese journey. Hey everyone, I hope you're all doing great and welcome back to another video by me, Astrei. I feel I start every single video by saying this, but it's been 4 months and a lot of things have happened, which I know you don't care about, so here's a list. I know I sound really excited in this video, but it's my first day of summer break. I remember that last year, when it was summer break, I was very excited to post at least a video every week, and I ended up only posting like 5 videos since, so that sure is something. I was scrolling around my old files in my old laptop, and they were clips from when I started learning Japanese. For the ones who don't know, I have been studying Japanese for about a year now, and it was very shocking to see my current level compared to when I didn't even know hiragana. So I decided, hey, maybe I could make a video about this. So in this video, I want to talk about the Astrei learning Japanese experience, as well as some tips, advice, and things I would have done differently if I could start my journey over. Just keep in mind, I am not a professor or fluent in the language in any way, shape, or form, but I still wanted to make this video because I've seen that the learning Japanese community online is very weird. For example, people on Reddit are extremely elitist. I've also seen a bunch of clickbait on YouTube of how I learned Japanese in 5 days, or polyglot who speaks 16 languages explains. Bro, I can't do basic math. What makes you think I could do this? I want to make this video to normalize taking your time and having fun. Like Bob Ross said, it's just about the journey, cunt. That's what he said. But before we begin, I want to ask you something. Did you know that 94% of the people watching this video are not subscribed to my YouTube channel? If you enjoy my content and want to see more, please consider leaving a like and subscribing. It means the whole world to me. There are currently 1,300 people subscribed, and it is my goal of the end of the year to reach 2,000. So if you enjoy my content and want to see more, please consider subscribing. It means the whole world to me. Anyway, with that out of the way, these are my tips, advice, and tools that I've used for learning my first year of Japanese. This is by far the scariest part of my Japanese journey and also the hardest. On my first day of learning Japanese, I downloaded Duolingo. I had nothing else to do, so I just popped in a lesson and oh my god, the screen was full of symbols I had never seen in my entire life. I always assumed that the first lesson was gonna be a brief introduction to each hiragana symbol and the sound it makes. But no, Duolingo was already expecting me to translate words like water or meat. I had no idea what they even were. So the very first thing I did after somehow managing to pull through the lesson was doing flashcards. I know it sounds super intimidating and kinda scary once you realize that you need to learn like 56 different sounds and attaching them to symbols, and then doing the exact same thing again for another set of symbols. The only other 2 forms of advice I can give during the kana stage are just do repetition and try to do mnemonics, which is also applicable for kanji. Basically, you just need to find funny pictures or stories or whatever inside of these symbols. For example, I always had trouble differentiating re and ne. They look pretty similar, but as you can see, ne has this little squiggly line thing, which reminds me of a tail. The Japanese word for cat is neko, therefore ne, neko, tail. You should practice this for another week or so, and once you have fully mastered hiragana and katakana, you should move into your first kanji. I think I started studying kanji by my 3rd week or so, but it was still the very basic ones like ichi, ni, san, shi, go, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and stuff like ki, tree. Hi, Astrei from the future here. You can probably hear my housemates' music because they're fucking assholes. Another form of advice I can give is color coding. In my brain, words are either red words or blue words. Sometimes it's easier for me to recall concepts via their color rather than the concept itself. So I don't know, maybe that can help you. The best form of advice I received in my journey was by my professor, and this is something she told me about around 8 months ago. She said that the difference between a good and a stellar student is the vocabulary. Once you start learning more and more Japanese, you will realize that there are not a lot of sentence structures. In fact, they only have 5. You only need to figure out how to use it and more words to use them with. I did try to learn vocabulary by myself, such as the colors or the family members, but not much else. By the start/midpoint of my third month, I also tried delving into playing video games in Japanese. This is definitely very hard at this stage, and you won't be able to understand anything. So don't expect to have fun, just have a dictionary with you and translate as you go. For this, I recommend the Jisho dictionary. It is my best friend when it comes to learning Japanese. It gives you the onyomi and the kunyomi pronunciations of each kanji, which is the Japanese and the Chinese pronunciations, as well as the stroke order. When I started learning Japanese, I didn't give a fuck about the stroke order. This is a canon event. This will happen. You think, no, this is stupid. In the beginning, it feels so tedious to have to stick to a particular way of writing the kanji down. But no, it will genuinely save you so much time later down the line, and it makes your kanji look a lot more legible. Now, this is where things get a bit different. I moved to Canada on my 3.5 month of studying Japanese. Since I moved to a multicultural country, it meant I could make Japanese friends. And so I did. The very first friend I made in Canada was a student from Japan who was learning Spanish, so we quickly bonded after that. At this point in time, you will only be able to say stuff like watashi wa mainichi gohan o tabemasu, which aren't things you really say in real life, so having friends definitely helps a lot, especially when it comes to casual conversation. Simply by asking, you will really learn a lot. For example, the difference between watashi, atashi, boku, ore, uchi. Even though I had Japanese friends now, I still couldn't communicate with them, and I still relied with Duolingo extremely heavily. Duolingo is not reliable in the slightest, as they completely restructured their course. They tried to add like some weeby shit into the app, and it just fucked it all up. Basically, I was pretty advanced in the section 1, and I was kicked back all the way to the beginning. I lost all of my kanji and all of my vocabulary, and I was sent back to square one. Just because Duolingo is fucking stupid. And I ratioed them, so fuck you, Duolingo. And this is when I realized that being self-taught simply isn't for me. Yes, I spent most of my summer trying to learn new words, new vocabulary, listening to Japanese music. I needed someone else to bounce off my ideas with. So once the break ended and I was back in school for my fall term, I joined my Japanese course. Being in a classroom is not good only because you have a professor who is very confident in everything they're saying, but also because you have a bunch of other students who don't know shit either. So it's very good to stay motivated, consistent, just to have like a partner around to ask. Yes, I was kicked back all the way to the beginning, but it was actually a good call. Duolingo did the same thing, but the only difference is that since you have a professor, they will explain from the very beginning not only how things should sound, but why they sound that way. For example, I know that in hiragana, shi can also sound like ji if it's attached to these two things. I didn't know why or the name of those two things, but my professor explained that this is called adakuten, which is just like a punctuation mark that changes the pronunciation of a hiragana, which I knew were a thing, but I didn't know why. During this 4 months, I learned how to ask for how much a thing costs, how to count in Japanese, how to use verbs that imply movement like ikimasu or kaerimasu, as well as the past and negative forms. This was my 8th month, and even though I was still a beginner, I understood enough where I was able to feel compelled to buy a book in Japanese. This is a book I'm really fond of. It's a book all about Japanese folk tales and just local stories. It's written both in English and in Japanese, and it has a glossary at the end of each story. There are a lot of kanji that I didn't recognize and that I currently don't recognize either. So here's another form of advice. If you're studying in an academic setting, you will realize that the Genki textbooks, which are the ones you're most likely using, they don't focus on kanji at all. If anything, they teach you maybe 10 kanji per unit, which is not good at all. So just try to study them semi-frequently. And so the autumn term came and went. By the end of this, it was already my 10th month of learning Japanese, and I actually posted a video on it. I made a video for my college final where I had to explain my daily routine. It's still pretty basic Japanese, but it's so surprising comparing it from here to here. Now it was the winter break. It was my first Canadian Christmas, it was super cold, and I couldn't really do anything, and I was super bored. So I decided to study 10 daily kanji every single day just to challenge myself. I was super bored and had a bunch of time, and I really recommend it. I will say that I'm definitely not able to say the meanings, the handwritings, or the pronunciations for every single one of these kanji, but I can probably give you one for every single one, and in some cases I can give you all of them. Some people say this is not good or is lacking or whatever, but in my opinion, most of what learning a language is to pick up contextual cues. So if you're familiar enough with it, I guess naturally your brain just finds it easier to process it. By the start of January, I knew around 400 to 500 kanji, and I think that has pretty much stayed pretty consistent. So from January onwards, I pretty much stopped my personal studies and kind of focused on school. And all of this is possible by this guy called the Te form. The Te form is kind of complicated to understand, and I won't go in depth on this video, but once you get it, you will really open yourself up to everything, I think. The Te form lets you link different verbs in a single sentence. For example, 私は6時に起きて朝ごはん作って学校に行きました. Imperative sentences like 読んでください. And even the dictionary/casual form of past. For example, 話した. All of this knowledge eventually culminated in me writing this, which was a little speech I had to give for my class. And it was really fun. It was very hard memorizing all of this, but I applied everything I know. So yeah.
Logan, you are my hero. You mean the world to me.
皆さんこんにちは。僕の名前はアストレイです。今日本語を話したいですが、日本語を話すのがちょっと下手です。だからすみません。今日は夏休みの最初の日ですから、ついに動画を作っています。イェーイ。僕は毎日とても忙しいです。なんか毎日学校に行って働いてあまり寝ませんから。僕は日本語を話してわかるけど、皆さんは僕は日本語が上手だと思わないでお願いします。僕は絵の描くのが好きで、友達と会うのが好きで、ゴロゴロするのが大好きですよ。最後にこの動画をlikeしてお願いします。ありがとうございました。Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much the Japanese I have learned in a year, and I hope you enjoyed it. Even though there are ups and downs in learning a language, I can say it's so much fun. Like, I am not even level N5 yet. There is still so much left for me to learn. It is such a lovely language full of lovely people and lovely culture. So yeah, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please remember to leave a like and subscribe. I will go back to posting regular Astrei content, like not language learning stuff. But yeah, I hope you had a nice day, and hopefully I'll get to see you soon. I'm actually gonna go to Mexico in a couple of days, and yeah, I really miss my cat. So yeah, I'll see you, and bye everyone.